old Halifax. So you've seen them in the movies, you've probably seen them on television. Soon you might see a few more on the streets of Halifax as well. What do you think about that? They're called Segways. These handy two-wheeled personal transporters are illegal on public roads in this province as of right now, but that could change pretty soon. Government recently introduced a bill that would allow Segways on city streets under certain conditions. And joining us now to talk about the impact of the proposed changes is Max Rostelli. Max is the owner of Segway Nova Scotia. Welcome, Max. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
So tell me about the proposed law here from the government and with the impact it would have.
Yeah, so it's more than a year in the making. I mean, we've been lobbying government for about a year, a little more than a year, and we're thrilled that they've finally introduced some legislation that would sort of help our cause, and that's the Innovative Transportation Act. And it's basically going to amend the Motor Vehicle Act, which will allow for us to take part in the pilot project.
Okay. How many Segways do you think are in Nova Scotia right now?
I would guess it's probably somewhere between maybe a dozen or 2 dozen.
Okay.
We've met a few of the people that have come out of the woodwork since we've started our company, but it's hard to get an exact number.
Exactly. So if they're not allowed in public places, where can people ride them as of right now, like today?
Yeah, that was certainly the challenge in our first year. We had to find private property basically and get permission from the property owner to do guided tours and to do rides and that sort of thing. So that's still the case as we wait for legislation to pass. So we'll be starting operations, tour operations on the Halifax waterfront, for example, and we do hit some of the multi-use trails.
Yeah.
And like I said, the rest of it is really private property. So hopefully the legislation will pass quick enough that we might be able to see some pilot projects get started this summer.
I was down in Miami a few years ago on vacation. I went to the mall shopping, and the security guards, mall security, were on Segways.
Yeah.
Like tracking down thieves and stuff like that. So I guess they can get around faster. That was one of the benefits for them. What are some of the other benefits of a Segway, you think?
Yeah, certainly, I mean, law enforcement and public safety officials is a huge market for Segway, and I expect that those groups will be interested here in Nova Scotia, once we have legislation in place. But anything that has to do with increasing productivity or patrol areas. So there's a business application for it, absolutely, whether it's a tour operator like ourselves or others, or large facilities, law enforcement, bylaw services, parking enforcement. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Right.
And then there's the whole market for individuals, where we're trying to introduce a new and innovative mode of transportation for individuals. And really, it's not so much, replacing walking or being lazy or anything like that. It's more about increasing productivity and maybe replacing short car trips. So that's really what the technology is about.
Which group of people do you think this is designed for? Like, is it for an older population, younger? Do you have to have a certain level of physical fitness to do it? Or?
The demographics is wide open. It really is. I mean, we do have an age limit. But it's more about weight. So the weight limit is, between 100 and 260 pounds, and that's just for safety reasons. But the demographics is wide open. We've had, an 81, 82-year-old gentleman with a lung condition go through Point Pleasant Park with us.
Wow.
Because after a couple of minutes, he just couldn't walk. So it certainly has an application on the mobility side. It's not a medical device per se, but it can certainly be used to help with mobility. And young people, old people, middle-aged people.
Do you have a license?
Well, we'll have to see what the Nova Scotia legislation. Most places do not require. When I say places, I'm saying states in the U.S. and countries around the world do not require licenses or permits. Yeah.
So let's just say someday in the future you're going down Spring Garden Road on your Segway. Spring Garden Road very congested on, say, a Saturday afternoon, and people are complaining because it takes up too much space. What do you say to those people who just don't want it around?
Yeah, well, hopefully, people will give it a chance, and I do understand that there's going to be a public awareness. There's going to be sort of this campaign to educate people so that they understand what the technology is all about. And I mean, quite frankly, my first experience on it was on a city tour in Rome, and Rome's a pretty busy city. Okay. So we were on the streets and sidewalks of Rome, and they get it, they got it. So it does very well in a high congested area, pedestrian areas. That's what it's designed for. The footprint, as you can tell, it's not much more than just a large person. So I would argue that it's safer than bicycles. It's safer than mobility scooters, just because of the footprint. And so.
So the law's been proposed. When do you think we're going to get some moving and shaking on this?
Yeah, I've been watching it for a week now, hoping it would go through second reading, but this other little thing called the budget was kind of on their agenda. The budget did get passed last night, so hopefully they can get on with some other business and maybe go through second reading and then go through the process from there. But like I said, we're shooting for the middle of this summer, hopefully, to get out there on the streets.
We'll be looking for it for sure. I'm not going to do it right now. I had not a nasty accident, but I tried to get on a scooter in Mexico last year, and it didn't work out very well. So I'm not going to hop on the Segway because I could go crashing into the walls here. But you are a pro at it. Sure. Got your helmet on. Why don't you scoot on out of here on your Segway, Max?
All right. And I'd like to think that this is way easier and a whole lot more fun than what you tried.
There's Max Rostelli from Segway Nova Scotia. You can find out more about Segway Nova Scotia on their website. It's at segwayns.com. Got to take a quick break. Coming back with more on the morning news. Stay with us. We're back after